Darkness, silence, cold. That was all Rix had known for years. He floated in space, alone, inside a broken spaceship. Outside, there were no stars nearby. No planets, no other ships, just empty space stretching forever. Rix was not human. He came from a race called the Tyrelln, known for science, exploration, and peace. But peace had not helped him now. 12 years ago, during a mission, his ship was hit by a strange energy wave. All systems failed. His crew died within hours. Rix survived, only because of the emergency pod. Since then, he had been drifting, alone in the void. Each day, he woke up, checked the systems, ate a small meal, and sent a distress signal. Every day for 12 years. No answer ever came. His body had changed, weaker now. His blue skin was pale. His voice was rough. His eyes looked tired, empty. His mind was slipping. Sometimes he talked to himself. Sometimes he screamed at the stars. Sometimes he just cried. He kept asking himself, why am I still alive? One day, something changed. A soft beep. A signal. Rix blinked. The console was blinking green. That color hadn't appeared in years. He slowly moved to the panel. His fingers trembled as he touched the screen. A message was coming in, not from his own people, not from any race he knew. The language was strange. The computer couldn't fully translate it, but it tried. The words appeared slowly, one by one. Unidentified ship. Signal received. You are not alone. We are humans. Stay where you are. We are coming. Rix froze. Humans. He had heard old stories. A primitive species from a faraway system. Aggressive. Wild. Unpredictable. But powerful. Fast learners. Survivors. He looked at the stars and whispered, after all these years, someone found me. But then another thought entered his mind. What if they're not here to help? Hours passed, then a day, then two. On the third day, he saw it. A ship, sleek, black, sharp like a blade. Fast, very fast. It came from nowhere. No warning. One moment space was empty. The next, the human ship was there. Rix watched in silence. His heartbeat was slow, steady. His hands were ready to hit the escape controls, even though he knew escape was impossible. The human ship circled his pod slowly, scanning, watching. Then a voice. A woman's voice. Calm, clear, commanding. Alien craft. This is the UHS Sentinel. We are here to retrieve you. Do not resist. Prepare for docking. Rix responded in his own language. The translator did its best. I am not hostile. My ship is damaged. I need help. The voice answered almost kindly. Understood. Hold position. Moments later, the human ship extended a docking tube. Rix held his breath as the tube attached with a loud metallic clang. He opened the hatch slowly. Cold air rushed in. Light flooded his ship for the first time in years. He covered his eyes. 3 humans stepped in. All wore black armor. Faces covered. Weapons ready. One of them, a tall woman with a scar on her cheek, lowered her helmet. Her eyes met Rix. She did not smile. Welcome aboard. We'll take it from here. Rix was moved to a small room. Clean. Bright. But there were no windows. No way to tell where he was going. The woman visited him again, this time without armor. She introduced herself as Captain Elise Mora. She offered food, water, a clean uniform. But her eyes were sharp, watching every move. Rix asked, "Are you rescuing me?" She replied with a strange smile. "That depends. Some think you're a survivor. Others think you're a spy." Rix shook his head. "I have done nothing." She looked at him carefully. "You've been out here a long time, Rix. But we've been watching your kind for longer. "You're not the first alien we've met. And last time, it didn't end well." Before he could reply, a guard called her out. She left quickly. The door locked behind her. Rix sat down, his heart heavy. He had waited 12 years to be found. But now, he wasn't sure being found was a good thing. As the ship continued moving through the darkness, Rix whispered, "Maybe being alone was safer." Rix sat in silence. The walls of the human ship felt too smooth, too perfect. Clean metal, cold light, no windows, no sense of time. He couldn't tell if it was day or night, or how many days had passed. Maybe 2 or 10. No one spoke to him, except one person, Captain Elise Mora. She came once a day, asked him simple questions. "Where are you from? What were you doing out there? Did you ever meet Earth before?" He gave her honest answers, but he could feel something in her tone, something hiding behind her calm voice. She didn't trust him. And the rest of her crew, they didn't even try. The guards stared at him like he was a monster, their hands always close to their weapons. No smiles, no words. Even when they gave him food, they placed the tray down and backed away, as if he might explode. Rix understood fear. He had felt it too. But this wasn't just fear. This was preparation. One day, Elise brought him to a new room, a large observation deck. For the first time in years, Rix saw space through a clear window. Stars glowed around them like fireflies. A blue planet shone in the distance. But that wasn't Earth. Elise pointed. "That's Outpost 9, a human station on the edge of our territory." Rix studied the spinning structure. It looked half like a city, half like a fortress. Tiny ships flew in and out, all armed. He asked softly, "Why bring me here?" Elise replied without looking at him, "Command wants to meet you. They don't trust aliens. Not after what happened on Vega 12. Rix tilted his head. "What happened?" She paused. A long silence. Then she spoke. 40 years ago, a ship like yours came to Earth. They came as friends. Humans welcomed them, learned from them, shared tech. Peace." Rix nodded. That sounded like his people. She continued. "Then one day, the alien ship left, without warning. 2 days later, 12 human cities were attacked by unknown ships. Millions died." Rix's eyes widened. "You think that was us?" Elise looked at him now, her eyes sharp. "We don't know, but Earth changed after that. No more open hands, only shields and weapons." Rix stepped back. "But I had nothing to do with that. I was just an explorer." "Maybe," she said coldly, "but my orders say to watch you, and be ready." Later that night, Rix tried to sleep, but his mind was racing. Were humans really like this, always ready for war, always afraid? Or were they right? He didn't know what his own people had done. He had been gone for 12 years. Maybe things had changed. Maybe Earth had every reason to be afraid. But something else was bothering him. Why were they really here? They said they picked up his signal. They said they wanted to rescue him. But their ship was too advanced, too prepared. And why put a tracker on his ship without telling him? Yes, he had seen it. A small black device hidden under the control panel. Humans had attached it during repairs. This was not a rescue mission. It was something more, something dangerous. The next day, Elise returned. This time, her voice was different. Quieter, almost tired. "Command is sending you back to your ship tomorrow. We'll be following you." Rix narrowed his eyes. "Why?" She looked away. "They think you know something. A location, a place with alien tech." Now it made sense. They didn't save him out of kindness. They wanted something. He asked, "And if I don't help?" Elise didn't answer, but her silence said everything. Later that night, the Elise came back alone. No guards, No armor. Just her. She spoke in a whisper. They don't care if you live. Rix. Once they get what they want, they'll erase you. Rix stared at her. Then why are you telling me this? She hesitated, then said, because I've seen what they do, not just to aliens, to their own people too. She handed him a small device. Hide this. It'll block their tracker for a short time. If you run, run fast. Rix held the device. Tiny, cold, hopeful. Why are you helping me? Elise smiled, the first real smile he had seen. Because I believe not all aliens are enemies, and not all humans are monsters. She turned and walked away. Rick sat down, holding the device tight in his hand. For the first time in 12 years, he wasn't sure what was more dangerous, being alone in space or being found by humans. Rix stood in the mirror. His face looked different, tired, older, but there was something new in his eyes, fear mixed with anger. The humans were not saviors. They didn't rescue him. They were using him. And now, they wanted something. The next morning, Elise returned, this time in full uniform. No smile. No warmth. Get ready. You're returning to your ship. Rix didn't move. Why now? She didn't answer. But a guard behind her stepped forward and said coldly, you'll do as ordered, alien, or we'll drag you there. Rix stared at them both. You say I'm free, but I feel like a prisoner. Elise looked into his eyes for a moment. Something flickered. Guilt, maybe, or doubt. Just played along, she whispered under her breath. For now. They took Rix back to his ship. It was cleaner, repaired, systems working again, but it didn't feel like his anymore. Something had changed. As he stepped inside, he felt it, a cold buzz like being watched. He checked the control panel after the humans left. Just as he feared, the tracking device was still there, hidden, live. He reached under the seat, pulled out the small jammer Ellis had given him. It hummed softly in his hand. Not forever, maybe 10 minutes of safety. Not enough to escape, but enough to think. That night, the humans allowed him to rest in his own ship, now docked inside their larger vessel. Rix couldn't sleep. His mind kept turning. What were they really after? Why him? He remembered Eliza's words. They think you know something. A place with alien tech. He did know something. 12 years ago, just before the accident, he had found a planet. Empty, dark, forgotten. But under the surface, hidden deep inside the mountains, an ancient machine. Alive, powerful, sleeping. He had only scanned it. Not even landed. But the readings were beyond anything his people had ever seen. He never told anyone. He wasn't sure if it was safe. But now, the humans knew. The next day, Elise took him to a small briefing room. 3 senior officers sat across from him. Cold eyes, sharp voices. The leader, an older man with silver hair and a deep voice, leaned forward. We know about the structure, Rix. We know what you found. Take us there. Rix kept his voice calm. I don't even know where it is anymore. The man's eyes narrowed. Don't lie to us. We've seen your logs. We've decoded your ship's memory. You found something. Ancient. Rix's heart sank, so that's why they fixed his ship, to steal his data. He said nothing. Another officer, a woman with hard eyes, added, You will take us there. If you refuse, we'll make sure no one ever hears from you again. Rix clenched his fists. What if it's dangerous? The silver-haired man smiled. Then we'll deal with it. Earth doesn't run from danger. Back in his ship, Rix felt trapped, used, betrayed. But part of him also understood. Humans had been attacked once, left broken, angry, alone. Now they wanted to never be weak again. Still, he couldn't let them near that place. He didn't fully understand the machine. but it felt wrong. Alive. Hungry. If the humans touched it, they might wake something no one could stop. That night, Elise visited him again. She looked tired. Her voice was low. "They're planning something, Rix. If you take them to that planet, they won't just study it. They'll use it." Rix shook his head. "I thought humans feared alien power." She nodded. "They do. That's why they want to control it before someone else does." He looked at her. "Why are you telling me this? You're one of them." She sighed. "I used to believe in what we were doing, but we've become something else. Something cold." She placed a small disc on the table. "There's a way out. A blind jump. If you really want to disappear." He stared at the device. "What about you?" She smiled faintly. "I'll tell them you attacked me. Bought you time." Rix hesitated. "You'll be branded a traitor." She looked out the window. "Maybe it's time." Rix stood at the controls. The ship's engines warmed. The jammer was ready. The humans didn't know. But something inside him said, "Don't run." He looked at the coordinates of the ancient world. Still saved. Still calling. And a voice inside him whispered, "Maybe it's time they saw what they're truly chasing." He changed course. Not away, but toward the machine. Rix stood in the cockpit, staring at the flashing lights on his control panel. His heart was racing, but his hands were steady. He had made his decision. The humans would never stop chasing power. They would stop at nothing to control the ancient machine, a force that could end everything. He couldn't let that happen. The coordinates were set. The ancient planet was just a few hours away. But there was a problem. The humans didn't trust him. They were already watching him, waiting for him to lead them to the machine. Every move, every breath, was under their control. The moment they suspected he was trying to escape, they'd be on him. Rix needed a plan. As he thought, his mind returned to the small device Elise had given him. The tracker jammer. It would block their tracking signal for a short time. But he needed more than that. He needed to disappear completely. He needed time. He glanced back at the door. The guards would be on patrol soon. He had only a few minutes to act. His escape had to be quick, or it would fail. Rix had studied the ship carefully since his arrival. He knew the layout. He knew where the weak points were. There was one place that wasn't monitored closely. A maintenance bay near the back of the ship, where the humans stored supplies and equipment. If he could get there, he could override the internal systems, lock the doors, and force a temporary shutdown. The humans wouldn't be able to get to him immediately. But that was just the first step. He didn't trust the ship's security, and he didn't trust the humans. If he stayed on this ship too long, they'd catch him. The real escape had to happen on the ancient planet, where he could disappear forever. Rix opened the small hatch beneath his seat, revealing the jammer Elise had given him. He placed it beside the control panel and activated it. A quiet hum filled the room as the device powered up. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. But then the lights flickered. Rix took a deep breath and rushed to the exit. He needed to move quickly. The countdown was starting. As he moved down the narrow corridors, he could hear the hum of the ship's engines and the distant footsteps of the guards. He knew they wouldn't expect him to make a move so soon. They thought he was a prisoner, a tool. But now, he was the one in control. He reached the maintenance bay without being seen. He slid inside and immediately locked the door behind him. Inside, it was dark and quiet. The room smelled of oil and metal, the walls covered with tools and equipment. Rix quickly got to work. He hacked into the control panel, bypassing the security codes with ease. His mind raced as he entered commands, overriding the ship's systems. With every keystroke, the ship's alarms began to go silent. Within moments, he'd locked down all external access points. The guards would be trapped outside. But there was still the matter of the ship's course. The humans were on their way to the ancient planet, and they would reach it in a few hours. Rix took a deep breath. It was time for the next step. Back in the cockpit, he adjusted the ship's course. The map blinked on the screen, showing the ancient planet's coordinates. He could feel the weight of his decision. Once he activated the landing sequence, there would be no turning back. If the humans caught him now, they'd kill him. He had no choice. He locked in the course and hit the button. The ship jolted forward, the engines roaring to life. They were on their way. As the ship descended toward the ancient planet, Rix could feel his heart beating in his chest. The planet below him was dark, silent, and strange. He had only been there once before, a long time ago, and even then, he hadn't understood what lay beneath the surface. But now, it was his only hope. The ship touched down on the surface with a soft thud. Rix quickly unbuckled and grabbed his gear. He didn't have much time. The humans would be coming for him soon. He knew this place. He had to make it to the ancient ruins before they arrived. The machine, it had to stay hidden. It had to remain untouched. The ship's hatch opened with a hiss, and Rix stepped outside. The cold air hit him immediately, and he shivered. The ground was rocky and uneven, covered with strange, dark plants. The sky above was black, filled with stars. In the distance, he could see the ruins. Tall, broken structures that had once been something great. But now, they were just shadows. Rix moved quickly, his steps silent as he navigated the terrain. He had been here before, but it was hard to shake the feeling that the place was watching him. The ruins loomed closer. In the distance, he could hear the hum of the human ship descending behind him. They were close. Time was running out. Rix reached the entrance to the ancient complex. The door, though broken, still stood. He pushed it open with ease, stepping inside. The air inside was cooler. The walls were covered with strange symbols, glowing faintly. The place felt alive, like it was waiting for something. Rix walked deeper into the ruins, his mind focused on one thing: the machine. He didn't know exactly what it was. He didn't know what it could do. But he knew it was powerful. And if the humans found it, they would use it for war. They wouldn't understand it. And that was the last thing he could let happen. Rix's boots crunched softly on the cold stone floor as he moved deeper into the ancient ruins. The walls were covered in strange glowing symbols, their light pulsing like a heartbeat. The air inside was stale, filled with the musty scent of age. But something else lingered, a feeling of power, a quiet hum in the bones of the place, as if the ruins themselves were alive. He couldn't explain it, but his gut told him that this was the heart of something ancient, something that had waited far too long to be discovered. The machine was somewhere within, hidden deep below the surface. Rix didn't know exactly where, but he knew he had to find it first. He had to make sure the humans never reached it. The sound of distant footsteps echoed behind him. He froze, his hand instinctively reaching for the small blade hidden at his side. His heartbeat quickened. They were here. He didn't have much time. He needed to reach the machine before they did, or it would be over. The humans would take control of it, use it, and nothing would be the same again. Rix glanced over his shoulder, but there was no one in sight. The footsteps were getting louder, though. He could feel the presence of others, moving carefully through the shadows. The humans had arrived. Elise. The guards. They were closing in. He picked up his pace, his steps swift and silent. The deeper he went, the more overwhelming the feeling of being watched became. The walls seemed to breathe, and the light from the symbols pulsed faster, as if in response to his approach. Rix could feel the machine calling to him, urging him forward. There was no turning back now. Suddenly, a voice cut through the silence. It was soft at first, barely a whisper, but unmistakable. Rix. He froze. The voice came from behind him. He turned, his eyes scanning the shadows, but he couldn't see anyone. "I know what you're doing." It was Elise's voice. Rix's heart skipped a beat. He had expected the humans to follow, but not this soon. Elise, of all people. He trusted her. She had seemed different, warned him about the others, but now. He stepped back, his hand tightening around the blade. He had to be ready for anything. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice steady. "You can't stop me." There was silence for a moment, and then she spoke again, her voice tinged with regret. "I wasn't trying to stop you, Rix. I was trying to warn you." Rix's eyes narrowed. "Warn me about what?" She stepped out from the shadows, her face pale in the dim light. She didn't look like a soldier anymore. She looked like someone who had lost everything. "There's more to this place than you know, more than you understand." She took a step closer, lowering her voice. "The machine, it's not just a weapon. It's something much worse." Rick shook his head. "I don't care what it is. I can't let the humans use it. They'll destroy everything." "That's exactly what they plan to do," she said. "But they don't know the truth. If they wake it, it won't be just Earth at risk. It'll be all of us." Rix's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, her gaze shifting to the darkness behind her. "The machine doesn't just control power, it controls minds. It can change people. And once they use it, they'll never be able to stop it." Rex swallowed hard. His mind raced. He had known the machine was dangerous, but this, it was far worse than he had imagined. A noise behind them cut off their conversation. The heavy footfalls of several guards filled the air. Rix looked over his shoulder. They were getting closer. "They're coming," he said, urgency in his voice. Elise looked torn, her face conflicted. She wanted to warn him. She wanted to help him. But it was too late. The others were already here. "Rix, there's still time. You don't have to do this alone." Rix felt his pulse quicken. He knew Elise's offer was genuine, but there was one thing he couldn't ignore. The humans had betrayed him. She had betrayed him. Suddenly, Rix turned, his hand snapping to his side, where the small jammer rested in his pocket. He activated it, and the sound of the ship's tracking system cut off. No more signals. No more monitoring. The guards had no way of following them now. Rix grabbed Elise's arm. "You're either with me or against me. We don't have time to decide." Her eyes widened, but she didn't resist. "I'm with you," she whispered. Rix nodded, and they both moved deeper into the ruins. The machine was close. Rix could feel it. The closer they got, the stronger the pull became. But there was still one problem. The humans weren't far behind. And now, they were ready for anything. The sound of footsteps echoed loudly behind them. The guards had found their trail. "This is it," Rick said, looking at Elise. "We'll have to get past them." Her eyes hardened. She had made her choice. "Then we fight," she said. They ran. The chase was on. Rix could hear the guards shouting, their footsteps growing louder as they closed in. But he was faster. He knew these ruins. He knew the darkness. Ahead of him, the machine loomed. But just as he reached it, a voice rang out from behind him. "Rix, stop." It was Captain Mora. Rix turned, his breath heavy, his mind racing. He could either fight or escape. Rick stood in the heart of the ancient ruins, his hand tight around the small blade at his side. The glowing symbols on the walls flickered and pulsed, casting strange shadows across the floor. He could hear the guards closing in behind him, their footsteps echoing through the dark corridors. They were almost there, but in front of him was the machine. It stood in the center of the room, an enormous structure of dark metal, twisted and contorted like something that had grown from the planet itself. The air around it buzzed with energy. There was no mistaking it. This was the heart of the ruins, the power that had been hidden for centuries. But Rix didn't want power. He wanted to stop the humans from using it. He had to. Behind him, Elise was moving quickly, her eyes darting around the room. She knew what was at stake. She knew that if the humans reached this machine, everything would change. The destruction they could unleash was unimaginable. And yet something in her heart told her that Rix was making a mistake. "Rix," she whispered urgently, "don't do this. You don't understand what you're dealing with." He didn't answer her. His focus was entirely on the machine. The sound of footsteps grew louder. The guards were almost here. "Rix," a voice shouted from behind him. It was Captain Mora, the leader of the human forces. "You don't have to do this. Come back with us. We can control it." Rix's grip tightened on the blade. He could hear the desperation in Mora's voice. But it wasn't enough to make him turn around. He knew better. Control was a lie. The humans couldn't control this. They'd never be able to. "You won't control it," Rix said, his voice cold. "You'll destroy everything." Captain Mora stepped forward, his face set with determination. "We won't let you stop us, Rix," Mora said. "This isn't just about power. It's about survival. Earth can't afford to let this kind of power fall into the wrong hands. You have to understand that." Rix turned toward Mora, his eyes blazing. "You don't understand," Rix shouted, his voice full of anger. "This machine isn't meant to be controlled. It's alive. It's dangerous. If you turn it on, you'll unleash something you can't stop. It will change everything. And once it has you, it will never let you go." Elise stepped forward, her voice softer. "Rix, listen to him," she pleaded. "You're not alone. We can figure this out together." But Rix's gaze never left the machine. It was too late for reasoning now. He couldn't let the humans have it. He couldn't trust them to use it for good. The machine was too dangerous. In that moment, Rix made his choice. He didn't need to turn around to know that the humans were close. They would never let him walk away. They would never let him stop them. He reached forward, pressing his hand to the machine's cold surface. The hum of power increased, vibrating through his body. It was like the machine was waiting for him, calling to him. It was alive. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter. The ground beneath Rix's feet trembled. He could feel it. The machine was awakening, responding to his touch. "No," Captain Mora shouted, his voice full of fear. "What are you doing?" But it was too late. The air around Rix crackled with energy as the machine came to life. The glowing symbols on the walls flared, and the ground shook harder. The room seemed to shift and distort, the very space around them bending as if under the weight of something ancient and powerful. Rix backed away, his mind racing. He had never expected this. He had known the machine was powerful, but now it was awakening something else, something dark. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Rix's mind. Not his own voice. It was the machine. "Why have you come?" Rix's heart skipped a beat. The voice wasn't human. It wasn't even alien. It was something older, something far beyond comprehension. "We've come to stop you," Rix said aloud, though his words felt small against the weight of the voice in his mind. The machine didn't respond immediately. Instead, the ground beneath them shook harder, sending cracks through the walls of the ruins. "You cannot stop what has already begun," the voice said, its tone calm yet filled with an undeniable force. "You are part of the cycle. You are the chosen." Rix's pulse quickened. What did that mean? He wasn't chosen. He was just trying to survive, trying to stop the humans from making a mistake. "No," Rix said, shaking his head. "I will stop you. You can't control me." The machine seemed to laugh, a low, echoing sound that filled the entire room. "You have already made your choice, Rix. You have awakened me." Rix's heart sank. He felt trapped. The machine was talking to him, but he didn't understand it. It wasn't just a weapon. It was something more, something alive. Behind him, he could hear the humans scrambling. They weren't giving up yet. "We can still control it," Mora shouted, his voice breaking through the chaos. "We'll take it back. We'll use it for Earth." But Rix knew better. It was too late. The machine wasn't something to be controlled. It had its own purpose, its own will. And it had just decided to awaken. The ground shook harder as the machine's power surged to life, its hum growing louder with each passing second. Rick stumbled back, his mind racing. He had thought he could stop it, but now he realized that he had only set it free. The ancient machine, which had been dormant for centuries, was awakening. The air around it crackled with energy, and Rix could feel the power vibrating through the very walls of the ruins. It was no longer just a machine. It was alive, and it had a mind of its own. Rix's head spun. The voice in his mind was no longer just an echo. It was growing louder, clearer, and more demanding. "You are my choice," the machine's voice said, its tone both soothing and terrifying. "I have waited for this moment." Rix's breath caught in his throat. What did that mean? He wasn't the one who had chosen this path. The machine had forced its way into his mind, manipulating his thoughts, his choices. He didn't want this. He didn't want to be part of its plan. But it was too late. Behind him, the humans were shouting. Captain Mora's voice was full of panic as he tried to command his men. "Shut it down. Shut it down. We need to stop it now." Rix could hear the fear in his voice, and for the first time, he realized that the humans weren't in control anymore. They weren't prepared for what they had unleashed. No one was. The machine was in charge. Rix turned around, his eyes scanning the chamber. The glowing symbols on the walls were brighter now, pulsing with power. The air felt thick, like the very atmosphere was changing. And in the center, the machine's core had started to glow, a swirling liquid light that seemed to draw everything toward it. "Rix," the machine whispered again, its voice like a deep, endless echo. "You are the key. You are the one who has awoken me. Now you will fulfill your purpose." Rix took a step back, his hands shaking. What was it talking about? His mind was racing, but he couldn't escape the pull. The machine's presence was too strong. It filled his thoughts, wrapped around his very being. "No," Rix shouted, forcing himself to focus. "I won't let you control me." But the machine didn't listen. It continued speaking in his mind, a low, almost comforting hum. "You cannot fight what you are. You are my choice." Rix's heart pounded in his chest. He knew he couldn't let the machine take control. He had come here to stop it, not to awaken it. He had to find a way to shut it down, to break free from its grip. But he couldn't think straight. The power around him was overwhelming. The walls of the ruins seemed to shift and warp as if the entire place was alive. The machine was changing everything, not just the world around him, but his very thoughts. Captain Mora's voice cut through the chaos once more. "Rix, you're not alone. We can stop this together." But Rix didn't trust him. He couldn't. The humans had tried to control the machine, to use it for their own gain. He had seen it in their eyes. They didn't care about the consequences. They only cared about power. And that was exactly what the machine offered. The room began to pulse with energy. The walls shook, and the floor cracked beneath their feet. It was no longer just the machine. It was the planet itself responding, awakening from its long slumber. The power was building, and Rix could feel it. It was like the very core of the world was shifting beneath him. His head spun. He couldn't think clearly. The voices, the power, the machine. It was all becoming too much. Illy stepped forward, her face pale but determined. "Rix, you have to fight it," she shouted. "You can still control your fate. Don't let it consume you." But her words seemed distant now, like a faint whisper against the storm of power swirling around him. Rix didn't know if he could fight it anymore. The machine was everywhere, in his thoughts, in his mind. It was changing him. Rix's breath came in quick, shallow gasps. He was losing control. The machine was too strong. Suddenly, he felt a hand on his arm. It was Elis. She was standing beside him, her grip firm, trying to pull him back from the brink. "Listen to me," she said, her voice soft but urgent. "You can't let it win. You have the strength to fight this. You're not just a tool. You're a fighter." The words broke through the fog in his mind, like a single light cutting through darkness. Rix blinked, his vision clearing for a moment. He could hear Elise's voice, feel her presence next to him. She was right. He wasn't alone. He wasn't just a part of the machine's plan. He had his own will, his own purpose. "I am not yours," Rix whispered through clenched teeth. "I will never be yours." And with that, he pulled away from the machine's pull. The machine roared in fury, its voice booming inside Rix's mind. "You are mine. You cannot escape." But Rix stood tall, fighting back with every ounce of strength he had. He reached for the small jammer that had been tucked into his side, the one Elise had given him. He had been saving it for this moment. With trembling hands, he activated it. The machine's power began to flicker. The room shook violently as the jammer's energy clashed with the machine's. The symbols on the walls flickered, their glowing light dimming for a moment. The machine's hum faltered. And then, everything went silent. Rix felt the weight of the silence settle over him. The machine's presence was still there, but it was weaker now. The power around him was no longer as overwhelming. He had done it. For now, he had stopped it. But the battle wasn't over.